Too much. What's up, guys? I'm gonna be working on a language that I've been working on for a while, and I already have kind of the basics. I was just gonna make an easier way for me to translate from English directly into that language. And this language is kind of a universal language between the different languages that are going to be present in the universe thing that I'm working on. For the three main languages that I made for this world that I'm working on, I wanted to base them off the commonly known shapes: square, triangle, and circle. The circle, surprisingly, was the easiest one. The triangle was the second easiest one, and for the square one, I had to kind of learn basic hiragana and katakana, and I'm still kind of trying to learn a little bit so I can pronounce and actually create words and maybe even create my own kanji-esque characters. But yeah, that's what it's going to be today. I'm going to be working on the triangle language, and it's going to be based off of ASCII binary character codes. Not really sure how to say it, but yeah, hope you enjoy it. Okay, so for some reason the sound wasn't recording, and I think right here I was just explaining that basically what I already said in the intro. Here I'm just taking a quick look at the code layout that I had set up, and yeah, so probably gonna just fast forward through whatever doesn't seem interesting. And you'll see right here that I'm just, again, looking at the code. I did fast forward it. I don't want you guys to have to watch like a 3-hour video. So I'm going to see if I can fit it under an hour. But yeah, I'm just talking through the basics here. Different pronunciations, you can see right there, they're written in. And the capitalized characters are higher pitched than the lower ones, so it's all just based on your hearing and the pronunciation of the other person. And right here, I pulled up, what is it? Stack Overflow, I believe is the website. It's a pretty good website for finding tips and tricks for just really quick coding. Like I'm doing, I'm not a professional or anything, I just kind of was going with it. So yeah, don't be afraid to look for help, and don't be afraid to get stuck, because when you get stuck, you'll see pretty soon, or not very soon actually, but you'll see later in this video that I was stuck for what seemed to me about like 5 minutes, turned out to be like half an hour or something, but I was stuck and I kept like trying to force it. But when I stopped and started thinking is when I actually was able to start putting stuff together. So don't be afraid to take a step back and just kind of look for it. So yeah, man, I don't know why I'm talking so fast. I get so excited when I think about this kind of stuff. Anyways, yeah, enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll come in with select commentary here and there, just to kind of not really reintroduce, just to kind of emphasize what's happening on screen. But yeah, don't forget also you can, well, you probably should go back every couple lines of code that you write and test it. And don't be afraid to over test it, because the more you test it, the more likely you are to catch flaws. And once you read that red syntax error text, it will tell you what's going on, or like give you a vague description, and you can kind of figure it out if you know basic coding from there. But yeah, I'll be back in a bit. You can probably tell this is where I was trying to just kind of force it and try to basically hack my own code, and it was definitely not working. So I just kept looking up different things to see what would help and what wouldn't help. And the more I look at this, the more I realize 500% speed is not nearly fast enough to make this thing short. So I might start moving a little bit faster pretty soon. Okay, right here, I decided to move the little position of the camera around because um, you'll see pretty soon. I was trying to show the code that I was doing and showing that I was actually being a little bit successful. I was making some progress, but I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be at this point. So yeah, you'll see. It's not super interesting right now, but yeah, you'll see. So what's great about this is you can see that there's pluses and minuses showing up whenever I type something in, and the way I did it was the pluses were gonna be ones and minuses were gonna be zeros. So because ASCII is a binary code, that meant I was making progress. I was typing stuff in, and things were coming out the way I wanted them to. Uh, and as you saw in the beginning, there were three different groups. One of them was the orange, one of them was blue, and one of them was green. The orange was being called by 1101, and you can see there that you can't really see it, but the second group is going to be called by 1110, and the fourth group is going to be called by 1111. And the reason that's so great that it's working is because it means I'm calling the correct groups. Group 1 is going to be the numbers 0 through 9 plus I believe it was periods, exclamation marks, and question marks. And the second group is going to be calling the first half of the alphabet, and the third group is going to be calling the second half of the alphabet. So the first half, I believe, is A through M. Yeah, and then the second half is N through Z. So it's all calling everything correctly. And you can see I divided that into groups, and each group is being called up by a different function. Yeah, I was just being dumb. But it was all calling to the correct groups. And from this point, I believe the next step I had was to figure out how to make I was messing with OBS right here, just trying to figure things out again. But the next step was to try and get the characters to start calling back the correct secondary number, because the primary number is the group number and the secondary number is the number between 0 and I think it was 12. 0 and 12 in ASCII, in binary, which was going to call up the different characters within those groups. So right here I'm just messing with OBS again, but let's fast forward a bit. Okay, I don't know if it's right here or if it's coming up, but you'll see pretty soon that I start to use the characters A, N, M, Z, 0, and question mark, and that's because those are the beginning and end of each group, and I wanted to make sure that I was calling the right numbers for each group. You'll also see pretty soon that I start to delete some of the reference code that I had in there, like printing off the number and printing off the letters and stuff. That was all just there for reference, and because it's just clutter, I can actually start getting rid of it and replacing it with what I actually want to call up. I also realized that this is probably a super boring video unless you're into coding and into creating languages and whatnot, but it's my channel, I can do what I want. Anyways, yeah, it's all kind of just deleting and putting everything back in and just figuring out what goes where. That's kind of the basics of coding, for basic coding anyways. I did take like one class, and that's like the extent of my coding knowledge, but I was able to make this thing, so yeah. You see I'm getting a lot of red syntax errors because I think what I was doing was I was placing that equation that's highlighted right there, I was putting that in the wrong spot. But other than that, it's all good, and you'll see pretty soon that I was just butting heads with the machine just to see if I can make it look prettier, but it's not gonna work out yet. I think later on, when I'm not on camera and not feeling like I'm being watched, I can go back and see what I can do to kind of shorten the code maybe a little bit, make the outcome look a little prettier. But you'll see it's all worth it in the end when you see the language that, or you see the script of the language, because this is not the script of the language. That would be a very ugly language, much like English. English is a very ugly language. But anyways, yeah, another fast forward insert here. I was totally confused. I showed you the wrong language, but those boxes were just a rough draft of the first coding script, but everything on the right and to the above part is pretty intact with what I was gonna originally do with this language. So you can see, I'm gonna start showing you with the mouse and zooming in on it, but there's there are black lines, and those signify the movement between the different triangles within the shape, and the white line shows the pattern of movement for the bigger triangles that the smaller triangles are enclosed in, and it's all kind of like spirally, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to look like it was kind of unfolding as you write it. So I think I'm gonna pull it up pretty soon. You'll see in the top there are two versions to spell hi, and I ended up changing that because it would have been way too insane to try and keep up with it, because it was going to be calling from capitals, lower cases, one part of the alphabet, another part of the alphabet, and then all the different characters, and then the numbers, and it was just going to be way too much to try to fit into triangles. So that's an example of the older language, and you'll see another example pretty soon of the older language, but I like the style of this one, so I'm going to be using the style of it. I'm just not going to be using the same writing format, because this one is just going to be way too much. I might bring it up later as a kind of what's it called, kind of like an Easter egg, because I'm going to be using these languages for different art things that I'm working on, maybe some animation stuff that I'm going to start doing, and I'm just going to be building a showcase for my art portfolio for when I start applying to places, and so when I get out of school I can actually have something to back me up and show off. And also it's kind of a hobby, like a really insane hobby that takes up way too much time and has very little output, but you know, support my Patreon, you guys. Anyways, yeah, here I'm just showing you what it kind of looked like, because there was the capital H's where I didn't have to switch between the capitals, but I did have to switch between the two different halves of the alphabet, and then here I had to switch between the halves of the alphabet. No, I didn't have to. No. Yeah, see the way this one is working, the two left triangles, the one that's like all white with, and then the other one that's white with one blue square in the center, that was gonna be bringing up the first half of the capitalized alphabet, and then because both of these characters lied within that first half of the alphabet, it was going to just pull up the last four ASCII digits, which is I believe it's a 001 for H. No, that doesn't sound right. It's 1000 for H, I believe. Anyways, yeah, it was gonna be way too complicated, and here's just an example of the art style that I'm going to be going with for the language, and I realize now that it looks a lot like a bunch of the different sci-fi stuff that you see on like video games and whatnot, but that's kind of what I'm going for. It's like a sci-fi, fantasy, futuristic esque world. But yeah, that's enough of me geeking, and I'll see you in the outro. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something about programming. I know I didn't really explain much. It was basically me just recording myself working and trying to figure out how to do things. And of the three languages that I've created, I am fluent in none. So yeah, I think I've got one of them up. I don't know what I'm calling it yet, but I think I have it up on my Patreon, and the other two are going to be up pretty soon. So yeah, go show some support over there, and hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, and oh, it's actually mirrored, and subscribe, like, and comment. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day, and peace.